Okay, let's get into the stock market technical analysis. We'll start off today, guys, with Nvidia. Obviously, they reported earnings. Market liked what they said after earnings, and this thing just exploded, really just gapped up. Didn't do a whole lot throughout the day. I mean, when you see kind of the open and really the close, it was pretty much about the same. So most of the price action took place on the large gap up in the after hours and the pre-market. And that's kind of where we're at. So, there wasn't a whole lot going on around this one today because, I know there's a lot of hype out there. Obviously, here's the daily chart on Nvidia. The former high right there at 345.58, gapping above that and closing above that, making a new high in this chart. So not a whole lot to do. It's at all-time highs here in Nvidia. Technically, there's nothing to really short against. There's nothing really, it's obviously bullish to see a big gap up, but it doesn't mean it's going to just stay up. Sometimes, earnings will mark the high water point. So need to just kind of continue to evaluate it. When I see the daily chart here, still have that negative divergence there on the daily PPO. Looks like the RSI burned through it though, right there. See that? RSI burned through it. So that's bullish to see that, and the PPO is pointed straight up. It could burn through it as well. So as of right now, there's just not a lot to base a trade here. Nothing that is necessarily short. I did short it a while ago. I was stopped out a week and a half ago on a lot of my shorts. I got stopped out on as the market started to break higher. So luckily ducked most of that. I had a little bit of short position, but it was pretty small. So obviously lost on that. And yeah, as of right now, it's not somewhere I'd want to just go long and just chase. You don't want to just jump in and chase, especially after a 25% gap up after earnings. Doesn't make sense to chase, but I don't see enough to short either. So we'll watch this one, see how that one continues to play out. Let's go over to the Nasdaq. Now the Nasdaq and really all the tech stocks, especially the mega cap techs, Nvidia is one of them. They were all basically being dragged higher and kind of held up based on the Nvidia, and all the semiconductors were up. Pretty much all due to indexing. The semiconductors, Nvidia is indexed within the semiconductor index. So if Nvidia is getting bid, the index just rises naturally by how everything's indexed. So we'll see how the remainder of the week plays out. When I look at the daily, though, on this Nasdaq futures, we have this bearish rising wedge pattern. Obviously, we broke to the upside yesterday, or the last few days, came down and pretty much tested the top of that wedge. Didn't quite get there, but close enough. And that's sure enough where the buyers were sitting at, and boom, gapped up today. And so far that's up. So nothing but bullish price action. I can't really spin it any other way in the last few days, but just nothing but bullish price action. Now we do have negative divergence, so that remains and it continues to build, but we don't have that sell signal. And what I talked about really since I started stopping out on some of these short trades, I talked about what I would be looking for the next sell signal would be a break back down below the wedge. All right, I was looking for it to come down, break down, and really start to break to the downside of this bearish rising wedge. We don't have that yet. We haven't seen that. That could still happen, but I don't have that yet. So the divergences that are in place as of right now give us a condition that we should see a breakdown, but it's nothing that we can take action on. And that's kind of where I stand at right now. I'm basically just waiting for the next trade setup in the markets. Do I want to chase this to the upside after this pretty impulsive rally after Nvidia? Not really. If you want to, feel free. You do what you want. I don't like the chase moves. If we get a trade wrong, I don't usually flip and just join the other team. Okay. Usually what I'll do is wait for pullbacks to support or wait for objective levels if to get on board if I want to get long. Don't necessarily want to get long right here. So we'll wait and see what plays out. Just kind of flat on that one. Triple Qs. So same thing, you know, you've got the bearish rising wedge. Should break to the downside. You have negative divergence. That's completely there. Broke to the upside, back test. That was almost a perfect back. That was a perfect back test there of the top of that wedge. Okay. And then today gapping up. Most of the, you know, it didn't really go anywhere. I mean, for the most part, just kind of gapped up and held up there. So pretty much most of the move was due to the Nvidia earnings. Now that that's out of the way, we'll see where the market wants to go. Okay, because there's not going to be another Nvidia earnings. So if this wants to gain speed and, you know, if everyone just gets euphoric and it wants to go parabolic, then yeah, that might be the trade. I don't see a short trade here right now. Again, I would be looking for a break of this bearish rising wedge to the downside. Boom, like that. All right, you start breaking there. Really take out that 326.50, but break the bottom. Take out that area. That should set this up for the trend to start to change. But until we see it, we got to continue to just kind of watch. Now, I know we have the debt ceiling stuff coming up, and so that might be a catalyst. You know, whether they default, I don't think they're going to default on the debt. It's just so much easier, and politicians just kind of play games. They're likely going to just raise the debt ceiling, and but maybe they do let it go a little bit, and it starts to put pressure on the market. I can't, you know, bet on that right now, but what I would be looking for is a breakdown of this wedge, and then we'll start to talk about, you know, the continuation of the downside. Otherwise, as of right now, you know, it's nothing but bullish, the price action at least. Momentum is still diverging. Let's look at the FANGs. One thing that's kind of interesting when I look at like Apple, I mean, Apple, you roll back and you look at that former high, and Apple is still in a downtrend, okay? Now, it's right at resistance, but look at this. Here's the former high. There's a lower high. There's a lower high. And if you roll out, you can see we basically made kind of an equal high right here, but haven't broke out and closed to make a new high. So that's interesting. You know, if it does rally and breaks and starts to get daily closes above there, that's obviously a technical change, and that means now you have a new high. But as of right now, we're still downtrending. Lower highs and lower lows. We're just near the top of the resistance line. So that is still holding. You know, we've literally been at this range for about all month pretty much. We've been just kind of trading at this resistance. Popped it, rejected. We're still there. So very important to watch. Amazon sold off today. It started to look impulsive, but then there was no follow through. This is the hourly chart. I can see here on the hourly negative divergence right there on the hourly. You've got the trend line to watch. You look for a break of trend for your sell signal, and that's a break of trend right there, kind of flagging out. I don't know. We could pop and do a back test. It's not impulsive enough to tell me that it's just going to continue to drop, but that is a break of trend on the hourly chart. Looking at the daily, which is obviously a bigger picture, support on the daily should be that former spike candle high right there at 113. Okay, so that should be support. So a break of that would be my sell signal. All right, we break back below that 113 and, you know, start getting daily closes below there, not just barely below it. You do want to see an impulsive breakdown from that level. That would be the next sell signal for Amazon. Otherwise, it's going to drift lower. The bulls are going to be right down here waiting to buy, and then it'll rally. So you need to see a break of that trendline support for the sell signal. Amazon starting to turn down. You can see also this new high in price that it's made is a divergent high. There's your negative divergence right there on the PPO, and there's your negative divergence on the RSI. Now the PPO is starting to turn down, hasn't fully confirmed, but it looks like it's about to. And so, yeah, I mean, this looks like a divergent high that's very likely going to get sold into. And I would probably target something like, you've got, there's definitely some support underneath, okay, for sure. You got the 200-day, you've got this horizontal trend support, and you've got this trend line support right here. So a zone of support right down there. But yeah, that would probably be the near-term target if you break there, and potentially a 10% drop or so in Amazon. Yeah, good support right there for sure at 103.50-ish. So first things first, you need to break this area of support right there, about 113, and then that should set this up for a move down. I think it's going to do it, but until I see it, there's no position to take. So we'll continue to watch that. Let's look at Google. Google really just trading right at this resistance zone. It's just slightly above, but your former high right there was about 122.30. Okay, there's your former high, and basically for the last week or so we've been just trading right there. So no real change on that. Now, Google does not necessarily have negative divergence anymore on the daily chart. It's kind of burned through that. Let's look at the hourly. Hourly does have it, so in the short term, probably going to get a pullback, but it's not there on the daily, so maybe that's only good for kind of a minor pullback. So we'll watch that and see what we can get out of that. Maybe you've got a trend line right there. You've got pretty good support right down here, about 114.60 or so. There's kind of a trend line support. That was lots of reactions there, so that's probably about as good as you'd expect to get. Probably fill this gap right here. Come down, fill the gap. That would be the near-term target. From there, we'd have to wait and see for a longer-term sell signal. And then Microsoft, you'll notice, continues to diverge higher. Okay, so again, these divergences can build for a while. It's not giving me a sell signal necessarily, but we do have negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO, and it has continued to kind of grind higher. Today popping, mostly due to Nvidia. It's just tech in general was kind of doing that. So we'll see where it goes from here, because it's still diverging. And former resistance was right here at this trend, or right there at about 315.30, and we did get a daily close above that right now. So yeah, in general, can't chalk it up to nothing but bullish. The all-time highs in Microsoft are not too far overhead, 350, so I could see us continuing to push up to those. I don't know. It will be a double top. You are diverging. You have negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO. So a move up there would likely be the double top. That's completely possible. From where we're at right here, I can't tell which way it's going to go. So, and Meta, it has entered this gap today. The gap was right here. If I go all the way back here from back in February 2022, 246.90 was about the gap, and today did enter the gap. So I think usually when you enter gaps, you're going to fill them, or at least approach filling them. So I can see a move up here to 289.75, or at least close. I probably wouldn't wait for the full gap to get filled, but I definitely could see a move up there. And again, I stopped out of that one for a pretty small loss a week or so ago. And so, yeah, now I could see a move. It could be another 13 to 14% move up to fill that gap. Okay, so that's it. Nothing necessarily in price action. We could just spike up, fill the gap, and then roll over, and that would still keep the divergence. You still have the negative divergence now. At this point, the sell signal would come on a break of this trend line right here. You can see this is the daily uptrend, support, 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 and I need to see a break of that for my sell signal. All right, so whether it wants to run up and fill the gap and then break it, I do think it will break it because the divergence is there, but we could run up and fill the gap first. So I'll just wait for the trend line to get broken for the next sell signal. Okay, GDX. I know a couple of people have asked me about the miners. So here's the trend line that I have on GDX. You've got support, support, and there's another reaction, and it's just below right here, about 29.40-ish. You've got support, and the 200-day simple moving average is just below, about 28.80. So I could see a move down there, whether we just continue to sell off or gap down or something. I could see a move down into this support zone, and from there it should bounce. Whether it bounces, I don't exactly know how high it bounces. Maybe, continuing up to this area right here, about 33.40. I think would be a decent target. And so that's what I have on that one. I do not have any divergences right now on the daily. If I go to the hourly, you can see just maybe starting to build on the PPO, nothing on the RSI. I don't see enough yet to tell me that it's done selling off. So I think there's probably a little more downside. Like I showed you on the daily, support's just underneath. But, you know, that's a move that's still down there just to that support zone is about, 2.5% to that trend line and about 4.5% down to the 200. So we'll just let this one kind of shape up. Okay, the other day I kind of just pointed out a couple trade ideas. Nothing's really panning out. I mean, they're not, some of these new ideas are, they're just not quite there yet. This was a short, let me grab my paper. So this was a short, but not actionable yet. We need to see a break of this support line right there at about 101.50. Yeah, we're below it right now, but it's not impulsive. So I can't say that's a sell signal. It's just not good enough. This could easily gap up. So I need to see a little more selling to trigger a sell signal. And from there, I think we head right down to probably the 200-day simple moving average. So that's that one. One I pointed out today in the private member group, Gilead. I noticed the healthcare stocks are kind of selling off, so I was digging through these to find trade ideas. This one, you've got support right there at 77.14. You can see reaction. There's a reaction, several reactions right through here. Today, we were below it. We were down here, and I pointed it out to the private member group saying, guys, this could be a sell signal, but we have seen a lot of intraday kind of snapback rallies. There's definitely been a lot of that where things break and then they just, by the end of the day, the buyers step in and it recovers the support level. So I said, you really need to see that end of the day break. It needs to be, by the time the day is going to close out, you want to make sure you have a sell signal. Sure enough, you can see today, if I go down to the hourly, we were below that support level selling off, and then the buyer stepped in and they recovered. So no sell signal on that one. It just did not break support. So again, you need to see a break of support for the sell signal. Daily close is better, obviously, for a swing trade. If we get the daily breakdown, I think we're going to go fill this gap right down here at 71.32. But for now, we need to see that break of 77.15-ish. Homebuilders, DHI, DH Horton. These look like they're ready for a sell signal. Could happen any day now. This one, you have an uptrend. So you got support, kind of at support right now. Negative divergence on these have been building for quite some time. No sell signal. This does look like it's kind of flagging. All right, flagging. And then that would project us to break the trend line. So you see a break, and especially across the board, you see a break on multiple home builders at the same time. That's obviously going to help. Toll Brothers rallied at support. You can see here, there's the trend line I pointed out on this one. Note, support, there's support there. There's another tag of it. And then it rallied on, it looks like earnings or after earnings. Now that that's out of the way, we'll see popped up, made a new divergent high. Now, again, a break of the trend line would be the sell signal. PHM, this one, again, very similar, just kind of not at, just sitting at support, but has not broken yet. So that is it. And then if I look at like ITB, which is a home, kind of the ETF, you can see on this one, very kind of similar setup where you've got a support. We only have 2 reactions right now, and then this is a potential third, so maybe you get another bounce before it actually breaks. So I don't see a sell signal. We do have negative divergence on both momentum indicators, so we're on watch for the break of support for a potential short entry. Okay, something that's really interesting to me, and obviously I think everybody kind of knows what's going on, but let me just explain. The SPY, the S&P 500, has basically gone nowhere for quite a while. But if you want to just break it down, since about early April, the S&P 500's gone nowhere, and you can see we're just chopping around, really going nowhere. And then like today, the S&P 500's up 0.87%, but that's because it's market cap weighted. So this is basically Nvidia and the FANG stocks rallying, causing this to kind of pop up. But if you equal weight the S&P 500, that was actually, you'll see it's actually down today, basically flat, and has actually been drifting lower and continuing to trend lower. So just continues to show that we're not really seeing a broad market rally. We are seeing a very selective rally in semiconductors and the FANG stocks. Not even really across broad tech. I mean, most of the rally in tech is limited to just 5 or 6 stocks. The large market cap weighted stocks, which are dragging some of the sector up and keeping some of the other sector kind of afloat. But we're seeing selling really, we're seeing a lot more selling across a lot of different stocks, and it's just the large market cap stocks that are holding the market up. So that is interesting. I think it's very important to continue to watch. We are continuing to trend lower in the equal weighted. So it really, what it does is just narrows my focus. And this is why I've been talking about these FANG stocks for the last few weeks, because it just narrows my focus on these FANG stocks. I only have to watch a couple things. One, we need to watch the FANG stocks. Apple, these large FANG stocks, any one of them start to break, they all kind of trend together. So you see some of these large ones starting to break, and they'll all likely break together. And then, so that's one outcome. The other outcome is that the broader market starts to participate and catch up in the rally. Okay, could be either way. We don't exactly know. For that, you could just watch the RSP, the equal weighted S&P 500. You start to see the RSP starting to rally, and then the broader market's likely going to continue to rally, and that would be strength to see that, to see the broader market rally. So I don't have any one way I think it's going to go. I mean, I would guess that the FANG stocks are going to break down, and then we already have the broad market selling off, and then the FANG stocks break down, and then we see that next leg lower. But until I see it, you know what I'm looking for. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. There's not a whole lot going on. Wheat, there's really no change there. It's just kind of grinding around. It's definitely grinding lower, but not moving, impulsively lower. It's just kind of ticking lower. So we'll continue to watch that. But wrap up, and I will catch you guys on the next one. All right.